SR93 Boxing back with a quick video. I was watching Chatterboxing response to Black Fight Fan TV. Shout out to both of the channels. Go check them out. It was a Chatterbox's response to Kell Brook, ERROL SPENCE. I believe Black Fight Fan TV. I believe that's the channel's name. He trying to make a point that ERROL SPENCE, like Kell Brook rather, is scared of ERROL SPENCE, and he doesn't want to take the fight. He's docking ERROL SPENCE, and then he reckons ERROL SPENCE is going to pretty much walk through him. Chatterbox tried to reply back and saying that I think he agrees that it'd be a competitive fight and whatnot, but he's trying to make a point. What makes you think that he is scared of, like, that he would get steamrolled by ERROL SPENCE? The thing is, and he's comparing resumes, and he's trying to say, hey, listen, they both kind of dismiss the same type of same level of oppositions the same way, like Leonard Bondu. How Chris Algieri took out Leonard Bondu was pretty much equally impressive as how Kell Brook took out Frankie Gavin. And this is a good point. I don't think ERROL SPENCE will steamroll Kell Brook. I don't think he will. But what makes people think that ERROL SPENCE will beat him quite badly? ERROL SPENCE is about like as big as Kell Brook. Kell Brook's one of his advantages is his size and his strength, and something I feel ERROL SPENCE can not only. And remember, I'm not in the ERROL SPENCE bandwagon. I don't just buy into people's hype. People buy into the Adrian Broner hype, or he's the next Floyd Mayweather. Now they're buying into the ERROL SPENCE hype. And although I don't believe in the hype fully, I do think ERROL SPENCE is a very, very good fighter. So I want to make this point about ERROL SPENCE. Why do I and a lot of people think he will beat Kell Brook up quite badly? I could change my mind on this. Kell Brook did look good against Golovkin. Although I don't think that was the best Golovkin, he did look good against Golovkin. He did. He really did. So if you let's look at ERROL SPENCE and Kell Brook's style of fight. There's a lot of problems that Kell Brook can pose on ERROL SPENCE. He can really Kell Brook can move around. He has a long jab. He's very accurate with his punches, and ERROL SPENCE can get hit. He can get hit, right? And ERROL SPENCE is no Chris Algieri. Kell Brook is no Chris Algieri or Leonard Bondu. He's someone stronger and bigger than those guys. So what does this mean? It means that Kell Brook can pose a lot of problems. He can actually probably hurt ERROL SPENCE. But ERROL SPENCE, again, as I said, is a strong guy. He has a goal. He has a good amateur background. Kell Brook's amateur background is not that known, I believe. Yeah, I do think he has a better amateur background. I mean, that's on top of my head. I haven't really checked on Kell Brook's background, but I've never heard anyone say Kell Brook has a tremendous amateur background. So ERROL SPENCE can box. He's a bit flat-footed, I guess, but he's not fully flat-footed. He's not like Canelo with his footwork. He just move a bit. He knows how to break a fighter down and go on the inside, and this is what causes a lot of fighters problems. He's got tremendous body punching ability, and he's a really hard puncher. All of these things, the style on its own can cause Kell Brook problems. And even though I don't agree that Kell Brook will get steamrolled, he might get steamrolled on the late rounds. And I'll tell you, well, shit, my laptop's got this pop-up message, wait. Yeah, so, I'll tell you why people think ERROL SPENCE, will steamroll over Kell Brook. Kell Brook has been taking bum fights all his life, and this, like, I know I keep saying this, but it needs to be said. It really needs. I enjoy saying it. It's like, damn, man, I like Kell Brook as a fighter in the ring, but what the fuck? Who you fighting, man? He fought Golovkin. Yeah, that's a. I'm not actually gonna get into that, but yeah, it was a challenge. It was a big challenge. He fought Sean Porter, but that was a long time ago, 2014. And he fought Jojo Dan. He got stabbed before that, which, okay, that's acceptable. But then you went to fight Frankie Gavin, and Frankie Gavin, I believe, was not a mandatory, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, mandatory, that even, if it was a mandatory, I guess there's some reason to fight Frankie Gavin. There's some, the mandatories can step aside, but he never made any mandatory step aside. He just fought Frankie Gavin, which I don't think was a mandatory. But then he goes, Jojo Dan was a mandatory, right? Kevin Bizier comes in, and that was his mandatory as well. And Kell Brook willingly fights Jojo Dan, knowing that in his whatever how many years he's been in boxing, he's been in boxing just a little bit longer than Amir Khan. They kind of pretty much same age. Kell Brook might be just a little bit older and turned pro probably just a little bit before Amir Khan. And if you look at Kell Brook's resume, he never fought anyone. Now, when you in a position to put it this way, yeah, this guy hasn't fought anyone. He fought Sean Porter, beat him by a hairline, and he went back with his title, kept the title hostage. Never again with that title as a champion. You expect him to maybe take a bum fight here and there, but also fight some decent oppositions, fight some good oppositions, right? Instead of taking bum fights here and there, he pretty much took good fights here and there and he filled it up with bum fights. He did the exact opposite. If anything, actually no, he didn't even fill up with that many good fights. Golovkin was a rare exception, like really rare exception. Sean Porter and Golovkin is the only ones that he fought. And so he goes on to fight. He's very willing to fight mandatories, Jojo Dan, Kevin Bizier, and he's willing to fight people that are bums, really. I mean, I don't like to call them bums. I don't want to disrespect them, but Frankie Gavin is a known bum, right? And he's a really good bum, but he's a bum nonetheless. He goes on to fight Frankie Gavin, knowing that you're in a division that's stacked. That if Keith Thurman, you can fight Keith Thurman, you can fight Sean Porter rematch. If you don't want to fight that, then fine. You got Errol Spence, who's got a lot of hype behind him, a lot of hype. You could say Errol Spence hasn't done much, but at the same time, what's Frankie Gavin done? Frankie Gavin lost to Leonard Bond, yo. So, and Leonard Bond is a decent fighter, but there's so many fighters at welterweight. You can fought Diego Chavez, and this is one of the other points I want to get. He was fighting mandatories freely. All of a sudden, Errol Spence is a mandatory, and the fight is not happening. And a lot of fighters a lot of people predicted this, that when Errol Spence becomes a mandatory, he will move up. He will move up. That's what people were saying, that he will avoid. He will move. Amir Khan said this. A lot of fighters said this, that he will just move up. A lot of channels said this as well. Like Travis Gotti said this. I think Boxing Yo might have said it. 78 Sports said it probably. I mean, I can't remember the exact, but there's a whole bunch of. You go check a lot of channels out. They said it, and then when he does exactly that, then you'd have to kind of think, they might be right. That Kell Brook is actually a scam artist. He's been doing exactly what critiques have been saying. He did exactly what the critics have been saying he will do, and that's disappointing. That is one of the reasons why people think that Kell Brook is scared of Errol Spence. They kind of figured out in a way that what Kell Brook's really about in terms of what he wants to achieve and what he wants to do in boxing. He's a scam artist. He's a very good fighter, but he's a scam artist. Now, that's one of the reasons. Another reason is, and you could say whatever, Errol Spence hasn't achieved nothing. Well, Frankie Gavin hasn't achieved nothing. Kevin Bizier, he has a mandatory. He's just like Errol Spence is a mandatory, right? Look what Kevin Bizier has achieved. He got. I believe he got beat twice. I believe by Jojo Dan, who Kell Brook already beat after coming off a serious stab injury. So you fight this guy who I believe got stopped by Jojo Dan once. So yeah, you fight this guy, and somehow you avoid Errol Spence to fight a guy who you can lose to against, but you can save face, because against Errol Spence you can't save face because you're not an undefeated fighter at that weight division, right? He could lose the title. If Kell Brook loses that title, he is nothing, because that title is the only thing that has him going. Black Fight Fan TV is right. He made this point and he's right. Kell Brook has the title. What else does he have? He used to have an undefeated record, but I don't give a shit about that because that's most of the time filled with bums. But another thing that Kell Brook has done is this. This is the other thing he's done. Kell Brook, the only fighter that he calls out, pretty much the only fighter that he's been calling out is Amir Khan. Kell Brook would have never been this famous if he never called out Amir Khan. Amir Khan's name made Kell Brook. technically Amir Khan made Kell Brook. And if put it this way, when Kell Brook was when Khan was fighting Maidana Judah, he was a world champion, right? Kell Brook was fighting guys with 50 wins and 80 losses, bums, who were getting beat by bums. So, you know, knowing that he hasn't fought anyone in his career, knowing that he hasn't, he's not willing to fight Errol Spence. You know, all of a sudden a good mandatory comes up, he's not willing to fight him, and plus, he could have fought Bradley. He ducked him. I believe he ducked him twice, but he definitely ducked him at least once. He could have fought Alexander, and you know, it's all, you could say injuries and whatnot, but it's always him. It's always him. You know, they pulled out 3 times against the Alexander fight, and Alexander pulled out once because of an injury, but Kell Brook twice. And you know, okay, that happened. Fuck it. If, let's say the Alexander fight, he pulled out 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Who gives a shit? If he went on to fight some, you know, a few more decent names, then that would have been excusable. But now he goes on to do that. Plus, he avoids Diego Chavez. He always has some sort of excuse with Brandon Rios. Why do you have so much excuse? You have not fought anyone. You need to fight someone. You need to go fight someone. You avoided Jesse Vargas. I can't remember all the names man, but there's a whole bunch of people that you avoided, man. You could have fought so many people. You could have fought. I believe he ducked Maidana really, really early in his career. Not too early, but quite early. Like he had 20 something wins. I believe he ducked Maidana. I mean, you know, he always has a problem. He cannot get good opposition. He's always been ducking. How is Diego Chavez suddenly void? How's Devin Alexander suddenly paid off to get out of the eliminator? It's all like Kell Brook is one of the most protective fighters in boxing. He's one of the biggest scam artists in boxing. He's right, man. He's right about Kell Brook. He's probably the second biggest scam artist in boxing. And you know what? Some could say he's the biggest scam artist in boxing. Because at least Triple G is willing to fight anyone that steps in at 160. Actually, no, that's not true. That's not true. Apart from Canelo, he's the only fighter. So Triple G, the difference between I think Kell Brook's even worse because Triple G is avoiding in his weight division. The one person he's avoiding is Canelo. He priced himself up, and Triple G is avoiding him at all cost. He's the one fighter he's fought, but he's pretty much fighting everyone in his weight division. He has he fought David Lemieux. He fought decent some names. They still fought bums, most of them. And Andre Ward thing, yeah, he ducked Andre Ward, but at the same time, he is willing to fight almost everyone in his own weight division. Kell Brook is only as Golovkin's only willing to avoid one fighter in his weight division. Kell Brook's only willing to fight one decent fighter in his weight division. Amir Khan, that's the only fighter he wants to fight because he knows that's the fight that's the most possible. Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao wouldn't give a shit about him. And Danny Garcia is a fight that he's probably looking at. He's probably not looking at Keith Thurman unless Keith Thurman beats Garcia. Yeah, which I'd favor Danny Garcia to beat Keith Thurman anyway. And he's wanting Amir Khan because of the payday, because of the fucking payday. That's exactly why. Because what else would it be? Why only Amir Khan? I understand you're calling out Amir Khan, but you don't seem to want these other fights. And that's Golovkin's avoiding one fighter. You only want one fighter, and that's the difference. You're avoiding every single fighter. You are not willing to step outside the UK. There's always something. It's always you. There's always an excuse. There's always a fucking excuse. Kell Brook's probably the biggest scam artist in boxing. That's all I have to say. That's why I feel like people believe Errol Spence will walk and steamroll through him because it sounds like Kell Brook's scared to fight Errol Spence. Although it might be false because Kell Brook is scared to not just fight Errol Spence. He seems like he's scared to fight anyone apart from Amir Khan. And I'm fairly sure in the fight if he loses that, he could beat Amir Khan, but he could lose that as well. And if he does, I don't think he gives a shit. That payday will do him good. That's all I have to say. I'll be back with more videos soon.